When talking about recreation facilities, talking about the uh, hotels, swimming pools that are within the lodge. So tourists may come, have their good time on the beach, on the dam, and then they enjoy themselves. Another benefit is that the dam provides freshwater fisheries. Freshwater fisheries, so farmers can harness their fish uh, around the dam, and then they they harness the type of fish, the specific species of fish, and then they put the fish in the dam so that it can mature in the dam. So with the time they can fish from the dam. So the dam will act as a freshwater fisheries because it enhances the growth and maturity of fish. Finally, the fifth benefit is that the dam has generated employment to people. And when we say that the dam has generated employment to people, we're actually talking about the experts, the skilled personnel who are employed. We have the people who are given the contract to construct the dam itself, and then we have the guards within the dam. We have power being supplied also to that dam from KPLC, the same power that the dam generates being supplied to uh, the same plant. So those are the benefits of Tana River project. Apart from these benefits, we are going to discuss the problems facing Tana River projects. The first is the shortage of capital to purchase spare parts, which has interfered with the maintenance of machinery in the powerhouse. We have we find out that when the plant was put in place a number of years ago, maintenance has become a big problem because of the spare parts. The spare parts which are being used are not currently being manufactured in the market today. So we find that when the machine when the machine break down, they have to find ways of repairing the machine without using the appropriate spare parts. Number two problem is that we have fluctuation of the water levels of River Tana. Now, fluctuation of water levels on River Tana is due to uh, drought in the catchment areas. River Tana, the catchment area, we know that River Tana's source from Mount Kenya, and it has passed through quite a number of catchment areas, including um, forests and other water sources. So we find that along the catchment area, some of the catchment areas may dry up due to drought, and then we have uh, high evaporation rates when the river is flowing through the Nyika plateau. So when the river is flowing along the Nyika plateau, you find that there are high evaporation rates, and this affects the generation of power. Another problem is siltation of the dams. We know that there is no limitation or any sieve of the water which is coming into the dam. So you find that when River Tana is flowing with its load, it moves with its load across the dam. So you find that most of the load is deposited as silt in the dam, and occasionally you find that it blocks the tailrace tunnels, or it also blocks the tunnels, the turbines which are turning. At a time, you find that the silt reduces the volume of water in the dam. So in this case, you have the dam has to undergo dredging so that it can increase the volume of water in it. And in the process, you find that it becomes more expensive. Dredging is expensive because you have to get rid of the silt. Another whereby we are the consumers of the technology in the current market today. Now, since we are behind in technology, or we alternatively call it inadequate technology, we find that we can't maximize on power production. Alternatively, uh, When the technology is advanced, we can maximize on power production. But unfortunately, the technology levels are below standards, so we can't maximize on the uh, production of power. Now, we have discussed quite a number of points on the problems facing River Tana projects, and in this case, I want us to move to the next concept, which is hydroelectric project in Uganda. Uh, Uganda is a landlocked country. I know most of you know that Uganda is a landlocked country, and we know that it has some of the largest freshwater resources in East Africa. Some of the large water resources in East largest renewable freshwater resources in East Africa. For example, we have Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is one of the largest freshwater resources in East Africa. In fact, Lake Victoria is the largest freshwater lake in the world. Numerous rivers and lakes, high potential of electricity generation. We have so many rivers in Uganda with high potential of electricity generation. We know that the country receives high amount of rainfall, an average of about 1,000 millimeters of rainfall throughout the year. Additionally, we have River Nile. River Nile flows out of Lake Victoria and has the highest potential to generate hydroelectric power. Now, when it flows out, it provides natural waterfall, because when it flows out of Lake Victoria, it flows out at high speeds. In this case, we have the Owen Falls Dam, which was built in 1954. Now, this dam is amongst the largest storage dam in Africa. Alternatively, we find that it is the largest storage dam. It supplies most of the Uganda electricity, about 162 megawatts. So from 162, 30 megawatts is exported to Kenya. But we find also that this dam has been a catalyst to industrial development. For example, we have Gingertown, which is just a few meters from the dam. And we find that several industries have cropped up because of the cheap electricity the nearby. Now, the country is developing quite a number of power stations below the Owen Falls and along River Kigat, which is on the south of Mutukula, Kabale areas, which is in the southwestern part of Uganda. So some of the hydroelectric projects in Uganda are recognized in Africa, and the benefits of these projects are still the benefits same as the benefits of hydroelectric power projects in Kenya. So Uganda always share the same benefits and the same mechanisms to harness hydroelectric power in Owen Falls, the same mechanism that is used to harness hydroelectric power in Kenya. Now, let's move on. So we can now move on to hydroelectric power projects in Africa as a general, now that we have discussed at least two countries in East Africa. So we know that Africa has the largest concentration of potential areas of hydroelectric power generation. So these areas which have the potential, some of them have been utilized, while others haven't been utilized. The areas which haven't been utilized for hydroelectric power generation, in other words, we mean that the areas which have the potential to generate power, but the power plants are not set up in those areas due to the following reasons. One is that we have inadequate financial resources. Africa has got inadequate financial resources. So since Africa has got inadequate financial resources, it means that where the projects need to be established, African countries have to seek for external borrowing of money, and this money is paid for many years, overburdening the concerned countries, because these countries have to pay in terms of loans, which are commercial loans with high interests. And then some of the potential areas that can generate power are remote areas. Remote areas meaning that they are far away from the densely populated areas and industrial areas. So you find that transportation of this power, because they have to put up with the pylons, the wires, the electric poles, is more expensive. So these areas remain neglected. Number three, uh, reason why Africa has got the potential to utilize some of these areas, but it is not, is that some of these countries are lowly industrialized. So when the countries are lowly industrialized, it means that isn't inadequate market for hydroelectric power, meaning that it is an economic activity which a country can't venture in, because we always say that it is economically unviable, because a country can venture in that project, but the returns are very low. So in this case, the country deliberately decides to neglect. Number four, we know that some of the rivers which have got the potential to generate hydroelectric power, we know that they don't have constant amount of water throughout the year, but most of them are seasonal, and they only appear when rain falls and disappear when we have rainfall, when we have drought seasons. Some of the major projects we have the Aswan on River Nile, we have the Kariba, uh, which is among which is shared with Zambezi and Zimbabwe. We have Kobora, Basa on River Zambezi. We have Kainji on River Niger. We have Akosombo on River Volta. We have Owen Fault in Uganda. We have Andakalof on River Orange. We have quite a number of projects which are recognized, but only to mention a few. In Uganda, we have the Kagera project. Not in Uganda, but in Tanzania, we have Kagera project, hydroelectric power project. We have the Malagasy hydroelectric project. We have the Nyumba ya Mungu Dam and the Hale Dam on River Pangani in Uganda. So that is hydroelectric power in Africa. Uganda, in general, it will always share the same benefits and the same drawbacks. Same drawbacks. So with that in mind, I think it's good that we have learned hydroelectric power projects, and we can now move to the second thing, the next thing, which is geothermal power project in Kenya. Geothermal electricity is generated in areas which experience volcanicity. And the definition of volcanicity, we can remind ourselves that in Peru we learn that volcanicity is the process by which solid, liquid, and gaseous materials are either into or onto the earth, either brought into and onto the earth crust is magma, and when it comes out of the earth crust is lava. Now, how is this power generated? First of all, we know that magma is hot, and when it comes in contact with the percolating water is the water which enters. It enters into the earth crust through pores. And when the water enters into the earth crust, in the earth crust, it gets heated up very fast beyond its boiling point. And this water that is heated very fast beyond its boiling point is now called superheated water. Now this not superheated water, but superheated now is steam. Superheated is steam. So this steam escapes very fast from the internal part of the earth to the outer surface. Turn turbines that drive electric generators. And when it drives electric generators, power from Lake Magadi to Lake Turkana on the Kenya-Ethiopia border. Geothermal power generation is carried out at Olkaria to the south of Naivasha, and this geothermal project in Olkaria generates about 10% of the country's power needs. Other potential areas for harnessing geothermal power, we have Lake Bogoria, which has got the highest potential, though we have not harnessed the power because Lake Bogoria has got numerous hot springs and geysers. We have Eburu. Eburu is the north of Lake Naivasha. We have Menengai Crater region. We have areas around Lake Baringo. We have areas around Magadi, south of Turkana, and of Longonot and Suswa. So that is geothermal power generation. Now, let's see, we have discussed quite a number of energy production. So we want to see the problem facing energy development in Kenya, and we know that we are totally dependent in energy. So we want to see the problems that are facing this energy in detail. One of the problems is inadequate capital, which causes the country to seek external borrowing of money, and this money is paid for many years, overburdening the country. Because if you want to set up a plant that generates power, for example, hydroelectric power, we have to seek for loans from either World Bank, we have IMF, we have specific country loans. For example, you can go for a loan in China, we can go for a loan in the US, or alternatively, we can seek for grants. So this means that we are seeking for money externally. Another problem is that the market for power or energy is small. But since the production costs are high, it means, and the production and connection costs are high, it prevents the country from venturing into this industry because the returns are low. When you have to supply someone with power, we have the cost of connection being very high. And when the cost of connection being high, it minimizes the profit that the country gets. Now, most of the power is being consumed by citizens of our country. We find that the costs are being subsidized by the country also. So you find that the countries keep on incurring costs in maintaining these plants. And then another problem is the seasonal fluctuation of water levels in the dams. Seasonal fluctuation of water level in the dams is due to low rainfall in catchment areas, and some rivers flowing through dry regions. You find that the water is lost through evaporation, or most of the water can be lost through seepage, surface seepage. In this case, say that we experience what is called power rationing. And then we have regular siltation in the dams due to deposition of soil, which requires regular dredging and regular dredging is expensive. Then we're talking of location. Now, most of these power generation plants are located in remote areas, and when the power plants are located in remote areas, it is expensive to transport power for long distances. Just a quick example: when someone needs to put power in the homesteads, you start counting the number of poles to the homestead. Now, Kenya Power Light Company charges 10,000 or 15,000 per post. So you can imagine if your home is 5 kilometers away from the transformer, and you have to supply, you want to get supply of hydroelectric, you want to get supply of power, you start counting the posts. If there are 20, you multiply by 15,000. That is about 300,000 to get connection. Still, you've not put in the wiring connection, labor costs. It becomes very expensive when the power plants are placed in remote areas. And then there is that limited spread of solar power in rural areas because these equipments are expensive. Buying a solar panel needs you to have about 40,000. And then you need an expert who can do the connection for you to have. Now it is expensive in the rural areas to use solar power, which is the easiest method of getting power in our homes. And then we're talking of lack of acceptance of wind power because many people use diesel to pump water. And then there is that problem of over exploitation of wood fuel. Fuel. Wood fuel is a result of population increasing faster. So they overexploit wood. Yeah? They overexploit wood, leading to deforestation, and deforestation leads to soil erosion, and as a result, it reduces the amount of rainfall, and that effect is called the water cycle effect. The water cycle effect is distorted. How is this? How is energy? How is energy helping us? So what are the significance of energy? Some of the significance of energy is significance of energy. One is that we can use energy for domestic use. E.g., we have wood and charcoal for cooking, and then we have uh, for industries, we have electricity and petroleum is used for industries. We have diesel, electric cars. They are used for transportation. We have motor vehicles. We can use agriculture, and we're talking about agriculture. We're talking about diesel tractors to draw plows and electricity for milking machines, and then uh, supply of water. Diesel engines can be used for supply of water. Diesel engines can be used for supply of water. We have windmills and solar powers can be used to pump water. We have some mills, and then we have can be used also for medical purposes. We have electricity being used for run equipment for diagnosis in the hospital. X-rays use electricity uh, machine. Now, that's good. We can now move to another concept, which is energy or oil crisis. Energy or oil crisis. So, what is the definition of energy or oil crisis? If someone asks you for the definition of energy or oil crisis, uh, energy or oil crisis is a situation whereby the demand of oil is higher than the amount that is being supplied, leading to high oil prices. I know that you have heard of certain instances in life of recent years, whereby we find that petroleum becomes very expensive because we've had that uh, depletion of oil wells. So meaning that the supply of oil can't meet the market demand. When oil can't meet the market demand, uh, it means that we undergoing what is called energy crisis or oil crisis. Both of them mean the same thing. Both of them mean the same thing. What causes oil crisis? Some of the causes of oil crisis are over-reliance on petroleum and its products. So more we find that most people can't do without electricity. So people can't use alternative sources of energy like power, solar energy. We have windmill energy. We have geothermal. We have hydroelectric power. So we find that people rely on petroleum only and its products as sources as and its as sources of energy. And then we have high oil prices, high oil prices due to sharp rise in oil demand. So when the demand is so many vehicles in the market, you find that there is high oil demand, and that leads to high oil prices. Uh, High oil prices. And then talking about economical and political sanctions. Economical and political sanctions. Are we talking about economic and political sanctions? We're talking about maybe civil wars taking place in countries which mine oil. So when civil wars occur or political instabilities in this country, it means that they can mine oil. So the supply in the market reduces. Then we have rapid depletion of oil reserves. You know, oil is non-renewable, so it depletes. When you have rapid depletion of oil reserves, it means that the market will experience oil uh, crisis. And then conflicts in the Middle East, especially between Israel and Palestine. These countries are always in conflict, Israel and Palestine. So in this case, we find that it affects the prices of oil. We can't mine oil when we have a lot of conflict. And then exhaustion of wood fuel. Wood fuel, when we have exhaustion of wood fuel, it means that people have to use kerosene to cook. Uh, they have to use the liquid petroleum products to cook. And in that case, it means that it is overburdening petroleum products, and therefore it creates what is called oil crisis. And then mismanagement of energy. We have oil production being limited by OPEC, being limited by OPEC. And then you have artificial shortages by country like Russia and US relying on oil from other countries and conserving uh, their own. You know that countries like US, when they find that a country has oil, they tend to help that country mine, or they buy the oil from that country at cheaper prices